G'day, ladies and gentlemen.
Get in, buckle up, we are about to take a brief journey into a wild and weird part of Australia's cinematic history. Ozploitation is a term for a bunch of genre films that came out of Australia in the 70s and 80s. Born from the ashes of an almost non-existent film industry, the government at the time stepped up and decided it was time to get serious about igniting Australian film, establishing what would become the Australian Film Commission, along with other major initiatives to support domestic production of feature films. This sparked the Australian New Wave, which was led by films like Gillian Armstrong's My Brilliant Career and Peter Weir's Picnic at Hanging Rock. But beneath this Australian New Wave lurked a body of films more focused on schlock and shock than prestige and period drama. Coinciding with the introduction of the R rating in 1971 and hinging on the revolutionary spirit of the 70s, some Australian filmmakers found box office success presenting a wilder side of Australia.
This film takes you to see the dark side. Sights not captured on film before in Australia.
Breaking away from its Commonwealth connections and celebrating thrills spills whilst marrying Australian larrikinism to American B-grade sensibilities. In the US, these films screened in exploitation film houses where they were lapped up by none other than the likes of Quentin Tarantino, who called them Ozploitation in Mark Hartley's documentary, Not Quite Hollywood, The Wild Untold Story of Ozploitation. Though a relatively recent term which Hartley refined from Tarantino's original phrase, Ozploitation refers to Australian films that, like their American counterparts, profited by exploiting current trends, niche genres, lurid content, sometimes all of the above, with a distinctly Australian flavour. While pushing the boundaries of censorship and the limits of tiny budgets, productions were often described as renegade, wild and sometimes dangerous, with a DIY, make-do approach to filmmaking. Legends were born in the performance and filming of death-defying feats like those in Mad Max, which became synonymous with some of the best car chases and stunts in the business. Balancing low production value with an excess of genre, Ozploitation filmmakers favoured stereotypes and spectacle over story.
After all, excess is what makes life worth living.
They made a menagerie of genre films including action films, horror films, sci-fis, comedies, road movies, sexploitation films, more road movies, even kung fu films. Thriving in the drive-in circuit, these films generously dished up explosions, car chases, gunfights, blood, monsters, mayhem, and a plethora of weird and wonderful characters framed against the Australian landscape.
Yeah, I've been speaking to some of my mates, sophisticated mates in the film production business, and they reckon this is the type of show that's given Australia world leadership in film production today.
So I believe, Barry, and did you know that the critics have gone absolutely berserk?
These films have been described as crude, B-grade, shocking, outrageous, amazing, hysterical, rebellious, and everything in between.
Hey, you can't go around calling that. It'll accrue our reputation.
Among some of the more questionable titles, some real pearls emerged, claiming critical success whilst others became cult classics. Ozploitation played an essential part in the Australian film revival of the 1970s and have contributed a colourful, if not rather unruly chapter to the history of Australian cinema. They played a defining role in representing Australia to the world, and their legacy can be seen today in contemporary cinema. Check out some of the films or watch Mark Hartley's documentary Not Quite Hollywood, The Wild Untold Story of Ozploitation to delve comprehensively into this slice of Australian film history.